So we started speaking about principle number 2. Pretty much we said God is one. Oneness doesn't mean the oneness that we think. It means there's nothing else like him. There's no point of reference. We cannot count. God is not only one in number, but in his existence, in the way that he is, right? Pretty much we said this is why there's no way that we could say God is not good, God is bad, God is this, God is not. Because everything is God. This is why we said when we said the Shema, we said with our eyes closed. Because the whole idea is that when you're saying the Shema, you're accepting God over yourself. And you're saying everything comes from God. But it's very hard to see God as the source of everything. Right? And I told you I'm going to throw at you a bomb. Right? But not yet. But what does it mean? It means God is one. Everything that happens to you in life comes from the same source. Therefore, by definition, being that everything comes from the same source, it must all be good. It must all be godly because really it all comes from God. This is why you close your eyes and you say, God, if I'm honest with myself and I see what's going on in the world, I wouldn't really be able to say that you're the one, right? And therefore, I close my eyes and I know that even though I cannot always see you, I always know that you're in the background because I can always hear you. In order to see, you have to open your eyes. In order to hear, I hear Chevy crying even though I want to be sleeping. Okay, so then we said, God is Echad, one, Yahid, unique, right? Whatever that means, and Meyuchad, special in his ways. We cannot get to know God's essence, but we could get to know God through his ways. And the more that you study the ways of God, the more that it is that you could understand God, especially which ways of God. So we're going to go into it later. But if I would want to get to know Picasso, right? Picasso is dead. So what do I do if I want to get to know Picasso? Look at his paintings. If I really want to get an idea of who Picasso was, what painting should I look like? Should I look at his symbol painting? Do you call it this way? His signature. Signature painting. Because his signature painting is the one that represents him the most. In the same way, if I want to get to know God, I have to look at his signature painting. What is the signature painting of God? Nature, more than nature. One thing. Human being, right? He was made in the image and essence of God. This is why religious people like having children. Because this is all signature paintings of God, right? But we'll talk about this later. So how do we know, philosophy, how do we know that there has to be one God? Yeah? Every day we say, Aleinu leshabeach. This is like the finishing. This is all new, right? We're starting new. Every day we say, Aleinu leshabeach. If you ever open up your Sidur, there is a special prayer called Aleinu leshabeach that is said right at the end of every single prayer. At the end of morning prayer, afternoon prayer. You're also going to say this in Rosh Hashanah. You're going to look at this. It's the longest silent prayer in the world. It takes about 1 hour. So you should learn how to read quickly, okay? So then you're saying your prayer and suddenly you say Aleinu leshabeach. And usually this is the end of every prayer. So you're like, yay, God, I finished. No, there's 20 more pages to come. It's very exciting, especially in Yom Kippur when you're very hungry and then you have to, and then you bow down on the ground, and this is a pretty special moment. My husband has a little carpet to bow down. It's like a holy carpet. He only uses this in Yom Kippur. Let's talk about, special people. Okay, but the point is, right? So you say Aleinu leshabeach. So the whole point of Aleinu leshabeach, it's like an amazing praise to God. The second chapter talks about everything that's going to happen when Mashiach comes and everyone is going to recognize God and all of the nations of the world. And at the end it says, Ki Hashem, right? Sorry, the first paragraph, it says, Ki Hashem hu Elokim, b'shamayim mimal, ve'al haaretz mitachat, ein od. Because God is the God from heaven above and from earth below. And you're like, whoa, he's divided in half. Ain't all. There's no one else. God is God in heavens. God is God in earth. There's no one else but God. God is everything, right? You're actually going to see that when God introduced himself in the Torah, he actually did it in a way that he introduced himself like this. I am God in heaven. Oh, but you think I only work in heaven? No, I'm going to introduce myself also in the earth. Oh, you think I only work in the earth? No, I'm going to show you there's no one else like me. By the way, when did God introduce himself? And you're going to see this. It's pretty amazing. Anyone knows? Not Shavuot. When did God introduce himself to a world? And he was like, hello, look at what I could do. When did God did this? Too many people spoke and I am deaf, so I did not hear anyone. Mitzrayim, when specifically?
When he was talking to Moshe.
No, that was God saying, hello, I am. But when did he show us what he could do? When did he show us what he could do? 10 plagues, yes? It all finished with what? The sea. By the way, did you ever ask this question? Why did we need 10 plagues? Wouldn't it have been enough with just one plague? If God would have kept the blood long enough going, would Pharaoh let us go? No. Yes. Why? Because the Egyptians had no water. In order to get water, they had to buy it from a Jew. Would money be gone at one point? Yes. You don't want to drink blood. Okay, let's say not blood. If you had wild animals, okay, every plague lasted for 1 week. If you keep on the plague going on for 1 month, would he let the Jewish people go? Yeah. For sure, you actually see this. From the 5th plague on, he said go, and then he retracted. But he was already hard enough that he wanted to just say go. This is why God hardened his heart, because God wanted him to go through the 10 plagues, but he was letting them go because, it is just too hard, I can't handle it. So now the question is, why did we need 10 plagues? You ever wonder this? Now, by the way, in the Torah, 10, it's always a perfect number. It means it acquires a perfect purpose. It does what it needs to be doing. There's 10 plagues, 10 commandments, right? 10 sayings of creation. The Torah says that the 10 plagues were not only there in order to punish the Egyptians, but they were also there in order to cure the Jewish people, meaning the Jewish people needed to go through the 10 plagues. And apart from that, God showed himself. This was like his, introductory card. I am God, this is what I'm able to do. This is why we never had miracles like the 10 plagues again. Because once I show you what I'm able to do, I don't need to show it off every time. I don't want you to believe in me because of the miracles. I just want you to know that I'm able to do it. The Torah says that the 10 plagues were inversely parallel to the 10 sayings of creation. You got this? Again, the 10 plagues were inversely parallel to the 10 sayings of creation. Now, if you think about this, what did we say in principle number 1? When there was only God, that's it. It was God, right? You could feel so much his essence. But what did God did? In order for us to exist, he had to contract his own essence. Because if not, it's like light, and hold the concept of light, because I'm going to use it later. It was so strong, you would just be blind. So for human beings to be able to exist, God had to hide his light and contract it. Now think about this. Before God created, what was there? God, yes? So what did each one of the sayings of creations did? They sort of like contracted God more and more, limited God, so that you'll see him, and we spoke about this when we spoke about Shabbat in Mechina, whoever was there, so that you'll see him, but you wouldn't be blinded by his light. Now, what is God doing in the 10 plagues? He's introducing his might. So God is going backwards. Oh, I made myself this small, this contracted, and I'm going to make myself big, 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 until the Torah says that at the opening of the sea, which was like, the perfection, a combination of everything, every single person that was there prophesies the existence of God. We're going to talk about this when we get to principle number 6, so you should stay in Neve for a long time in this level. Even when you move up, you come to this class. You understand? This is the way. What do you think, Sabrina? Right? We're going to talk about this, but what happened when God opened up the sea? Everyone, the Torah says, the maid had a prophecy that not even the greatest prophet after Moshe had. All of them saw God. By the way, if you notice this, it's pretty exciting. What was the first thing God created? The concept of time, the Torah says, Bereshit. In the beginning there was God, right? And not only that, we said the world was created for whom? Jewish people are going to keep Torah, pretty much. This is a class on itself. What was the 10th plague? Firstborn, right? I created the world for the Jewish people. You're killing the Jewish people, I'm going to destroy you. The firstborn were actually dead at what time? Every single one, right? At the same midnight, they all started dying, right? The concept of time was canceled. What was the second creation? Light. Yes? Vayehi or. What was the 9th plague? Darkness. This is the way it works. God was introducing himself. So now we say God is God from heaven above, earth below, ain't old. Listen to this. You ever notice when you do the Haggadah of Pesach, if you're Sephardi, this is the part where you drop all of your wine. Ashkenazi people are a little stingy, so they do it with their little finger, because we have lots of wine, right? I'm joking. But Ashkenazi people go like this, you know what I'm talking about? So then you have this whole part of the Haggadah that discusses the plagues. So it goes like, oh, and this rabbi said that the plagues were equal to each one five ones, because it says the finger of God, and you have 5 fingers, 10 plagues, so they were 50. So then it says, no, but this rabbi said they were the hand of God, so 5 times 2 hands, they were 200. And you're like, what is this? This is like that. And then you go, and they used to count the plagues. So you go dam, tzvardea, kinim, you know what I'm talking about? And then you say, Vehem ayu notnim simanim. This goes first. And they used to give signs. And you also go like this. And you say, Detzach, Adash, Be'ahav. You got this on the fake, seder here? Everyone heard what you say? You go like this. Rabbi Omer, the rabbi said, they used to give simanim, signs for the plagues. Detzach, Adash, Be'ahav. And then you go, Elu eser makot. These are the 10 plagues that God gave to Egyptians. Damn, tzvardea. And we go like, poof, poof. And we also do it for someone that's not married. Why? Because if all of this blood of your life has been dropped, now you could find your shit up. I don't know why, but this is the way it works. They do it like this in your house? No, but I'm saying, do they choose someone that needs to get married in order to do it? Maybe if she looks at all the plagues and all the suffering, she suffers so much, and now, she got married. Or maybe it means that if you want to get married, you have to start dropping some blood. Okay, I don't really know what it means, but this is what we do in our house. We also have very interesting things, like we eat an egg. Do you guys eat egg on Pesach? Egg, yeah, in the memory of the korban, whatever. So we break the egg on people's foreheads. Is it everyone? Just my family, because we're violent. We're pretty violent. No one messes up with me, because you hit me with an egg, I'm going to kill you. You understand? But you come to my house, we all end up with a red forehead. One time my brother put a rotten, raw egg, and they broke it on top of my mom. You understand this? On your Pesach clothing, in the middle of the table, evil people. We're not having this custom in my house, because Yeshua could cry if I break him an egg. But the point is, you say like this. You guys want square or curve? What do we get by now? Cursive, yeah? We all get cursive? So no? What do you, okay. You guys are in Gesher, you need to learn Hebrew. Great, let's go. You go like this. They used to give simanim. You have 3 signs, yeah? Tetzach. I'll do it like this also, because I am a nice person. Is this like this? Don't make fun of me. Yes, it is like this. Where is Rabbi Marcos' letters when you need them? I don't know. Tetzach. Like this, yeah? What do you think? Adash. Be'ahav. Oh, sorry. I'm pretty quick also. I'm so proud. Yay. Okay. Tetzach, Adash, Be'ahav. Okay? This is the simanim that you do. Okay? So what is this? Right? By the way, I'm talking about the oneness of God. I'm also talking about, I'm going to get into a philosophy of how do you know he's actually one? Because lots of people ask this question, and therefore it's very important that you know this. Because even in a lot of religions or in a lot of philosophers, they believe there's a God, but they also believe in different powers. By the way, if you ever think about this, it was Jewish people that brought the concept of monotheism into our world, right? Before us, it did not exist. By the way, the spiritual meaning of monotheism is not only that there's not spiritual, but whatever. It's not only that there is one God, but it also makes that one God great. You know why? Because if you have lots of God, and we're going to go into it, all of the gods are limited. That's the definition of having lots of gods. One, if you need more than one, it means that not any one of them could do the whole job. Once you have one God, he's unlimited. And really, you want God to be unlimited. You don't want to have to go to, like Israel, bureaucracy, the minister of this, the minister of that, the minister of whatever. You want to go to just one. So it's very important to understand this concept of oneness of God so that you could also understand when you're having a relationship with God, what is the greatness of God. By the way, this simanim, if you notice, are exactly 10 letters because they're really the 10 plagues. Okay? You have, come with me the Hebrew, because I'm going to say them all in Hebrew. Dam, tzvardea, kinim, blood, frogs. And this is all the first letters of all the 10 plagues. Yeah? Check it out. Dam, tzvardea, kinim, arov, dever, shchin, barad, arbe, choshech, makat, bechorot. This is bechorot. So you have blood, frogs, lies, this is when it gets hard, okay? When animals get boils and they die, Arov is wild animals. Dever is pestilence. Is that a word? Yeah. Look at my English. Yeah. Let's go. Blood, frogs, lice, wild animals, pestilence, and boils. Yeah? Hail, locust. I used to say lobster. But one time I was talking about locust and I was like, there's a so I said lobster. So I'm like, there's a kosher type? All the girls got so happy. And they were like, where do I find it? I'm like, the one that flies, like it's a kosher thing. I'm going to talk about it in 5 seconds. They were so happy. And then I broke their heart because it was not lobster. It was locust. Okay. Locust. Choshech, darkness, and Bechorot, firstborns. Yes? Great. Why are they divided in such a way? Interesting. Why are they divided in such a way? So now the Egyptians did not believe in God. By the way, the Torah says that when Moshe came and was like, hello, God says let my people go, Paro was like, who's this God guy? You think he's powerful? Show me. So Moshe came, he threw his stick, he became a snake, and what did the Egyptians do right away? They also made their sticks into snakes, right? So there's a whole thing that the thing of Moshe became it was different, the way that he became a snake and then the way that he became back into a stick. Now, the Egyptians were not so impressed. Why were they not so impressed? Because the Egyptians knew witchcraft. There is a concept of witchcraft in the world. We're going to talk about this when we get to principle number 5, so stay tuned. We're going to talk about Ouija board, the whole thing. We're going to play Ouija also. Okay. Okay, so now there is a concept of witchcraft into our world. Just so that you understand why this exists, there has to be balance in the world. And therefore, just as you have so much power to alter the world through purity, through godliness, God also created this power that you could alter the world through impurity, if you want to call it that way. So this is not like David Blade or, the one that appears in Vegas, but there is a concept of impurity, of like the whole voodoo business. There is a concept about this. So the Egyptians were not impressed because they were like, okay, maybe we cannot do the same thing as you could do, but we could do something. Maybe it's just that we're not that professional. So God wanted to show them, no. You're not the same as me. I am God. This is the real deal. Therefore, listen to what he did. What was the number one god of the Egyptians? Number one god. They had many gods. What? The Nile River, right? In Egypt, it doesn't rain. They have the Nile. It grows and it nurtures the whole land. Who did God attack first? The Nile. Hey, you think this is your God? I'm going to kill him. The Nile became full of blood, right? God killed the Nile. Not only did the Nile become full of blood, there's lots of things that happen in every single plague. All of the fruits became blood. Even when they would take the water out and it was pure, then it would become blood. Crazy. Second plague, Spardea, frogs, that's also in the Nile, right? God is showing them, says the Torah, the first set of plagues is Leman Yedash Ani Hashem, so that you will know that I am God. Now the third set in the first plague, the third plague in the first set is kinim. What is kinim? Lies. What does lies has to do with anything? If you, yeah?
They couldn't control anything that was smaller.
Beautiful. If you check it out in the Torah, right after they had lies, they said, we can't take this anymore because for sure this is the finger of God. What was the whole purpose of the first set? To recognize there's a God. This is exactly what they did after they had lies. Why? Because the forces of impurities that they work with were little demon-like stuff. And the demons, the way they work is they search for something very quickly. I don't know, something like that. So quickly you cannot see it. By the way, this is like magic nowadays. What do they say? It doesn't really exist. It's just quickness of the hand. In Hanukkah, we got a magician last year. So she said, you're pretty quick, right? So now, the trick is that these forces can only work with something that is bigger, salud, than a grain of rice. And therefore, they weren't able to do anything that had to do with the kinim, with the lies. So they were forced to recognize that there was a God. So they said, fine, God, you're God. But really, I am sure you're not God all over. You don't have that much power in the land. So what did God say? I don't have power in the land. Let me show you. Second set of plagues, the Torah says, was there in order to prove that I am God in the land. I need to prove that I make the rules of the land and I could control them. So the first plague was wild animals. All of them came running together. You ever saw Jumanji? I think they took it from here, right? Usually, you don't have octopuses and lions and zebras and elephants, all of them getting along. They would eat each other, you know? But here, all of the wild animals came. They let go of their own, like wants and needs and, desires for eating. And they all came and, killed the Egyptians. That's pretty amazing. But then, wasn't good enough for them. So then God did Dever and Shkin. One of them was pestilence in the animals. One of them was like pestilence in human beings. You know what was the amazing thing? The animals were differentiated. Some cows got pestilence, some cows didn't. It depends who you belong to. Now, that's pretty amazing because maybe they were together, maybe they touched each other. No, Jewish people did not get any boils. The other ones, so God differentiated in the earth. Everyone was able to see, hello, God is here. It's like an amazing thing. It's like one of those cartoons. You ever seen one of those cartoons that you're walking and the rain comes with you, but the rain doesn't come with the other person? It's pretty amazing. But then what did they say? Oh, but maybe God, I am sure you're bound by some rules. Says God, you think I'm bound by rules? I made rules. Let me show you how I break the own rules of the world that I made. Which, by the way, if you ever think about this, it's exactly what we said on principle number 1. All of the rules are, what did I say? Relative, because they were created. Therefore, they could be broken. If you live in the world of God, you're not bound by anything. You could just do whatever you want. What are the third set of plagues? Barat, hail. The hail was made of ice and fire at the same time, and it wouldn't consume. Amazing. Not only that, if you study at Torah, you'll see this. When the plague stopped, all of the hail that was about to fall, because it's like rain, it's falling, right? Stayed hold in Shamayim. Like you could actually see it. I mean, if you had telescopes, right? And then, much later, there was a guy called Yoshua. He was the leader after Moshe. He was in the middle of a war. You know what happened? The hail that was hold fell down. That's crazy. Where's gravity? No gravity, okay? Wouldn't we all wish we had no gravity? Okay. Then you had Arbe, locust. You know what's amazing about the locust? I don't know so much about insects, but apparently most insects or all insects have like a queen bee. Yes, does this make sense? And they all follow the queen. Locust has no queen. They're like, ADD. They go all over the place. They do not respect any rules. When they came into Egypt, the Torah says they all flew together so much that you couldn't see the sun from the amount of locusts. By the way, when the plague ended, this is like the craziest thing, right? God knew that if the plague ends and all of the locusts die, what's going to happen? The Egyptians are going to be able to enjoy from it. They're going to have a banquet of locusts. So God made a rule, which again, if you consider the fact that locust doesn't follow rules, it's crazy. God said, not only am I going to finish this plague, every single locust will leave Mitzrayim and will never come back. From that day of the plague, you should have to know this, no locust steps on Egypt. There was a very big news in Israel and in the world a few years ago, like 8 years ago, because there was a plague of locusts in Israel. Sephardi people were very excited because I told you, there are some locust type that is kosher, but you can only eat it if you have the tradition to eat it. It's like birds and dog and like whatever. If you don't have the tradition, you cannot eat it. So some Sephardi people were excited because some of them were the kosher type. The one that flies, it's kosher, right? So what happened? It was all over the news because the locust was like all over the place, everywhere in the sky. And when it got to like the border of Egypt, it turned around and went back. It did not enter Egypt. How did this happen? Because God controls, it's like, right? Then you have choshech, darkness. The darkness was so heavy, you could feel it. That in itself, it's like, darkness is not something that occupies space. Not only that, this is the most amazing thing. Jewish people and Egyptians that were standing on the same place, for one of them was light and for the other one was dark. Now, when people imagine this, they think it's like the cartoon. You're sitting here, you have a little light bulb, and you have a little darkness. The Torah says no. It was like Harry Potter. 2 alternate dimensions going on at the same time. If one of them was carrying the other one, if you want to say it that way, one of them could see and the other one could not. You understand? It's like crazy. It's like for one of them, it's the real world. For one of them, it's Harry Potter. You understand? Law of it. And then you obviously have the firstborn, which in itself, I don't even have to explain that. So the whole purpose of the plague was to allow you to understand what does this oneness mean. This oneness means full control. Everything comes from God. Every rule was made for God, and therefore, it's not only control, but it's just like, what does it mean, the greatness of God? I told you, it's all-encompassing. Everything is in God. Yeah?
Can you remind me what this phrase translates to?
Yeah, so the 10 plagues is the first letters of each one of the plagues divided into 3 because they're proving the 3 points. 1, there's one God. There is God. Number 2, God controls the earth. And number 3, God created the rules. God could break any rule. And all of this was contained in the splitting of the sea. Because the splitting of the sea was like a big, big thing. Because in the Torah, there's really no prophecy on the water, just in the earth, because the water, and then the splitting of the sea was over there. Everyone had, like, every single rule was broken. So everyone was able to, like, see God to his entirety.
Is this like, are these words?
So they're acronyms.
Oh.
Like BFF.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, acronyms. Don't you just call it acronyms? Yeah. Like BFF. So it's the 10 plagues. Each one has the first letter of the 10 plague, except for the last one, which is called Makat Bechorot, the plague of the firstborn, but we just have the bet, because it's the firstborn. Who cares about the word plague? Great. So we see from this, what does it mean, God's oneness, right? What does it mean, his control? Again, you could understand God from his ways. This was God's introduction. By the way, you should just know, and we'll talk about this later also, as we said when we were talking about the introduction of the 13 principles of faith, we do not believe in God because of miracles. Miracles are subjective. Now, even though this is great, this is not why we believe in God. We believe in God because our eyes saw and our ears heard, and we'll talk about this when we talk about prophecy, right? But the fact that when God introduced himself, he broke everything, just shows you what God is. And it's very important to understand this concept. Like, whenever I think about this, it just blows my mind, because, like, I know God is perfect, but really that perfect? You know what I'm saying? Like, whatever you think, there's no thought in your mind that could come up that has no limitation. Because you can just not think about that. But when you see this, you're like, really, God, do you do this? Actually, if you want to learn more about this, there is a very nice Haggadah of Pesach that it's like very nicely illustrated. So people think it's just like a pretty Haggadah. It's from Rabbi Chait. It's a very, very nice Haggadah. You open up things, whatever, they have it here. Every drawing, it's like a famous midrash. So they have a drawing that gives you the 10 plagues, and in the drawings you see all of these cool things, because each plague was made out of 10 plagues itself. So like blood wasn't just blood, all of the bodily fluids were blood, and like all of the juices of the fruits were blood. And when you see that, you're like, this is crazy. Now, like, you could see people's eyes, and their tears was blood. Their eyes was blood. And like, creepy, right? So when you see it, you just go like, for real, like, that's crazy. You understand? Where do you think all of these high Hollywood movies come from? From here, okay? Great.